44% of Americans earning over $100,000 a year have nothing saved, not because they're irresponsible, not because they don't understand compound interest. Because something is running in the background of every financial decision they make, and nobody has ever shown them what it is. You've probably felt it. The raise arrives. For about a week, you feel genuinely ahead. Then quietly, the subscriptions expand, the apartment gets nicer, the dinners change. And when you check your savings rate 12 months later, it's almost identical to what it was before. The number in your account climbs, the number you actually keep doesn't. Most people call this lifestyle inflation, and they're not wrong, but they're only reading the symptom. The real mechanism runs deeper than spending habits. It runs through something most personal finance content never touches: your sense of who you are. And once you understand how that mechanism actually works, every money habit you've ever tried, the budgeting apps, the 50-30-20 rule, the automatic transfers, starts to make a different kind of sense. Not because those tools are wrong, because they were never solving the right problem. Here's what's actually happening inside your brain every time your income increases. Your brain doesn't process a raise as extra money. It processes it as information about your identity. It reads the new number and performs an automatic calculation. A person who earns this much lives like this. And without you making a single conscious decision, it begins closing the gap between who you currently are and who it believes you're now supposed to be. Neuroscientists call this self-concept congruence, the brain's compulsive need to keep behavior aligned with identity. What it means in practice: your spending doesn't rise because you want more things. It rises because your brain is performing identity maintenance, keeping the temperature stable. Think of it like a thermostat, not a financial thermostat, but an identity thermostat. Every person has one. It's calibrated to a specific version of yourself, a precise set point of how someone like you is supposed to live. And when your income rises, the thermostat reads that as a drop below the new set point and immediately activates the spending to bring you back to equilibrium. The physician doesn't upgrade her car because she needs better transportation. She upgrades it because somewhere beneath the level of conscious thought, a doctor who earns $200,000 drives that car. The spending isn't desire, it's maintenance. The thermostat doing exactly what it was designed to do. Here's what makes this genuinely unsettling: you didn't set that thermostat. Somewhere between your first credit card and your first real salary, the culture around you calibrated it for you. Every time you saw what a successful person's apartment looks like, what kind of vacation someone at your title takes, what your colleagues drive, what your social media feed quietly normalizes as the baseline for people who have arrived, you were receiving a signal. And your brain was updating its internal model of who you're supposed to be. Most people inherit an identity they never chose, and then spend decades funding it automatically, invisibly, with every paycheck that arrives. The savings rate stays flat. The wealth-building strategy that seemed logical never quite activates, because the thermostat runs faster than the plan ever will. And the thermostat has a collaborator: comparison. The moment your peer group shifts, a promotion, a new social circle, a neighborhood change, the set point recalibrates upward again. This isn't weakness, this is biology. The interior cingulate cortex, the region of the brain that monitors social belonging, flags identity misalignment as a low-grade threat. Spending to close that gap is the brain reducing perceived risk. It feels like choice, it's closer to reflex. Now let's make this concrete, because the numbers are the part that actually changes people. Each $1,000 per month in lifestyle upgrade, a nicer apartment, a leased car, the premium membership, the expanded grocery budget, doesn't cost $12,000 per year. That's the sticker price. The real cost is what that capital would have become if it had been redirected toward investment instead. Across a 30-year career, with historical compound interest rates on a diversified portfolio, a single $1,000 per month lifestyle upgrade costs over $400,000 in foregone returns. Every raise you absorb into your identity rather than your savings carries that hidden invoice, and the invoice compounds. The identity tax isn't a one-time charge. It's interest on a debt you never agreed to take on, collected silently, every month, against a future you can't yet see. This is the mechanism behind why people with high salaries reach their 50s with savings that don't reflect decades of strong income. The thermostat ran the entire time. The tax was paid in slow, invisible installments, and financial discipline alone, applied to spending, couldn't stop it because it was never addressing the source. And here's where most personal finance advice stops short. It tells you to spend less, to cut back, to track every dollar and optimize the categories. Those strategies aren't wrong, but they are fighting the symptom without touching the mechanism. You can build a perfect budget and your thermostat will still find equilibrium because budgets control the amount you spend. They don't reach the identity that decides what's necessary in the first place. The thermostat operates underneath the budget. It doesn't care about your spreadsheet. It cares about congruence, closing the gap between who you are and who the world taught you to believe you should be. Which means the actual intervention isn't financial, it's perceptual. Before you optimize a single spending category, there's a question almost nobody asks. Is this spending something I genuinely value, or something the version of me I inherited from my culture believes I should have? From the inside, those two things feel identical. That's exactly what makes this so persistent and so expensive. Consider what this means compounded forward. Every future raise, every career advance, every income milestone you're working toward right now will feed the same thermostat. Not because you lack discipline, because the thermostat will be running before the raise arrives, already recalibrating around the new number. The ceiling rises, the spending floor rises with it, and the savings rate, the actual measure of wealth-building velocity, stays consistent regardless of how much the income grows. This is the mechanism behind why financial freedom feels like a destination that keeps moving. The thermostat moves the goalposts automatically. You earn more, you spend more. You remain exactly as far from financial independence as you were 5 years ago, just at a higher elevation. And the compounding runs in the wrong direction. Quietly, every month you don't address the thermostat itself. So what actually works? The honest answer is nothing that came before this realization will fully work without first addressing the thermostat. The apps, the rules, the accountability systems, they create friction, which helps at the margin, but they don't recalibrate the set point. So the thermostat recovers, it always recovers. Until you audit the identity it's maintaining. The reset has 3 steps, none of them involve cutting out coffee. The first is the origin audit. For every significant spending category in your life, housing, transportation, clothing, dining, travel, ask one question. Where did this standard come from? Not whether it's expensive, not whether you can afford it. Where did the belief that this is what people like me have actually originate? Most people, when they trace it honestly, find the answer is external, a peer group that normalized it, marketing that associated it with a specific identity tier, a status signal borrowed from a culture that doesn't actually know them. Recognizing borrowed identity is the first act of genuine financial minimalism, not spending less, thinking more clearly about whose values you're funding. The second step is the values filter. For each category that survives the origin audit, ask this: if no one could ever see this purchase, if it generated zero social information about who you are, would you still choose it? This isn't a call for austerity, it's a call for precision. Some things deliver genuine private value, private joy, private utility, private meaning that has nothing to do with what it signals to others. Those are worth funding. What disappears under that filter is the identity tax, spending that exists only to maintain a performance of self. Intentional spending, practiced this way, is the discipline that separates wealth building from wealth performance. Frugal living principles, applied correctly, aren't about sacrifice. They're about ownership over the identity you're actually choosing to fund. The third step is the raise redirect declaration. Before your next raise arrives, before the thermostat has a chance to engage, decide in writing exactly what percentage of that increase goes directly to savings and investment, not what's left after expenses. The allocation that happens first, before the brain has processed the new number as identity data. When you save first and spend the remainder, something counterintuitive happens over time. The thermostat recalibrates around the lower spending baseline. The set point shifts, but this time deliberately. This time by your design. Investment returns compound in the right direction, and the gap between income and savings rate finally begins to close. The goal isn't to spend less. The goal is to spend on a version of yourself that you actually chose. That distinction sounds philosophical until you calculate the compound interest on it, until you see what 30 years of funding a borrowed identity costs versus 30 years of funding an intentional one. People who build quiet, durable financial freedom don't earn more than everyone else. They stopped subsidizing an identity they never consciously selected. The thermostat is real. It runs in everyone. The only variable is whether it runs on default settings or on yours. Here's the question worth carrying after this. The next raise you receive, and there will be one, what version of you will it fund? Because if the thermostat hasn't been reset before it arrives, that question is already answered. Not by you, by every status signal, every social comparison, every piece of marketing that has been quietly calibrating your identity for years. The thermostat runs. The only question is who set it.